It's the Brad Pitt test or the Jason Momoa test, right? If Jason Momoa asked a chick on a date, would she cancel on him, give him a million reasons? Oh, I can't. I got to find a babysitter. No, she would say yes to Jason Momoa. She would say yes to Brad Pitt. And then she would figure out everything else on the back end, right? She's like, I have to do this. I have to go out. It's fucking Jason Momoa, right? If a chick's really interested in you, she will make it happen for you. She will open doors for you, right? But if she's got all these obstacles, she's just not that interested, all right? So just watch her actions. Don't necessarily listen to what her words say. So why actions reveal intentions? So actions like introducing you to friends or consistently making time for you over weeks show authentic interest. I'll tell you this. If you're do not go to meet a chick's friends until you're exclusive with her. Do not go and meet friends or family unless you are exclusive with a chick. Okay? Do not do that. A lot of the times that's just one big shit test. She wants to take you to meet the friends for a vibe check, and then you have to prove yourself to all of her friends and get her friends to fucking buy in on you. It's not worth it. Okay. It also ruins her ability to pair bond. Okay. So don't do that. Just have that boundary. I had that a couple of times. There was a couple of chicks when I was out spinning plates. They're like, hey, my friends and I were all at the club. Come down and meet us. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I think we'll hang out some other time. And they're like, really? Oh, this is really disappointing. My friends really wanted to meet you. And I'm like, I understand that, but I'm busy and I don't meet friends unless I'm exclusive with somebody. I just take it or leave it, bitch. But I'm not doing that. And it's just a bad idea all around, right? But it's a good sign. If they want you to meet these people, typically they're really thinking that this guy could be this guy's relationship material. Like I could see something going down with this guy. He's pretty awesome, but still set that boundary, okay? So words can create an illusion of interest, but actions require real effort and are harder to fake over time. Like most chicks they don't fake their actions at all. Their actions will tell you what you need to know 1,000% of the time. All right. I don't do one-on-one date coaching anymore, but if you're in a relationship, I do offer coaching. What I'm really focusing on now are guys that are already in relationships where the relationship's going downhill so much that their wife or girlfriend's not fucking them anymore. Right. And that happens a lot. If you get my free ebook, which I mentioned earlier, it explains that process and how that happens over time. But usually people get into relationships, things are sort of hot and heavy in the beginning, and then things start eroding over time. And then guys start Googling, why is my wife not wanting to fuck me anymore? Like, why is my wife rejecting me all the time? Okay. There's a reason for that. And if you need help turning that around, book a free call with me. Go to call.fixdeadbedrooms.com. Okay. I'll help you out. All right. So let's talk about my relationship with Nurse Chick. Nurse Chick, she's probably busy this morning, but I'll give her a shout out anyway. Here we go.
I'm so naughty.
So this is Nurse Chick, right? So Nurse Chick from the jump has shown very high interest in me, right? When we first started chatting on dating apps, I actually met her on Match.com, all right? Oh, dating apps don't work. Bullshit. Yes, they do. They fucking work if you work them. Okay. If you know how to use them, they work great. So I met Nurse Chick on Match.com. I set a date with her. She did a classic shit test where she tried to change the venue at the last minute. So we had a date lined up for coffee. I don't typically recommend coffee dates because it puts out a friend vibe, but she worked graveyard shifts at a hospital. She couldn't meet up for drinks in the evening because she had to go to work that night. She was working this weird 7 on, 7 off schedule. So she couldn't go out for drinks and then, have to go to work. So I was like, okay, fine. So I met her at a Starbucks. Well, the day before, she goes, I was thinking, because this was 2021, they were still doing the mask thing. She was like, what I was thinking? So we don't have to deal with masks or anything like that. Why don't I go pick up the coffee and then I'll meet you across the street at the park? And I knew by that point, because I'd been spinning plates long enough, that that's a classic shit test. Women will try to change the plans on you to see if you'll budge, right? It's a weird thing. They don't want you to budge, though. They want to see if you'll be a man and set a boundary. So I said, no, we're going to meet at the original venue as planned. I'll see you tomorrow. And she was like, oh, okay. Right. And she told me later, she's like, oh, I thought that was sexy. You wouldn't let me change the plans. I actually kind of thought that was hot. I was like, yeah, exactly. Because women like being told no. So I met her on the date, and we went there and we sat down, and I said, let's go sit outside. And so we didn't have to worry about the stupid mask. So we sat outside. We had a nice conversation. She had to go to work that night. She was supposed to go to work that night. So all I was there for was a chemistry test. And that's all I recommend every guy treat every first date just like it's a chemistry test. Don't have any expectations, right? Go in there. If she's a catfish, okay, cool. This is great practice. Let me just practice body language, bantering, letting her do 80% of the talking, all that kind of fun stuff. And then build up that muscle memory. And then the next date will be a better date. Just like anything else, dating is a skill and it requires practice. So having practice dates is helpful, and catfish dates make excellent practice. So I just went in there with no expectations. She shows up wearing these tight ass jeans that just made her ass pow, right? And I was like, oh shit, this is game time. This is game time. This is not a practice date. This is fucking game time. So anyway, we went outside, we started chatting. And then after a little bit, I ended the date. I try to be the guy that ends the date first, right? It's kind of a power move, but I was like, hey, well, I got to get going. My dog's been inside all day, and plus it's WrestleMania night. It happened to be WrestleMania weekend. And so I walked her to her car, and if you like a chick, always go in for a kiss. Okay. So I went in for a kiss. That is a bold move. It tells them I'm not interested in being friends. Right. And they if the chick's really into you, they fucking want you to do that. Right. So I went in for a kiss. She just fucking melted. Right. I went home just thinking, it was a good date. Good first date. No big deal. Going to watch WrestleMania. It's going to be a good evening. And she went to her friend's house. She went to her girlfriend's house, and, like girls do, they talked about the date and how great it was and all this kind of stuff. And she got low census. So she was working at a hospital. And what low census means is they don't have enough patients to justify having the staff on board. So they don't require you to work. So she didn't have to go to work that night. So she got low census, and she's at her friend's house. She goes, oh, I just got low census. What should I do? And her friend goes, why don't you fucking call him? Just call him. If you liked him so much, why don't you call him and see what he's up to tonight? And so she calls me, and she's like, so I got low census, and I had a really good date, and I was just wondering what you're up to. And I knew at that moment, chicks don't just do that if they're not super interested, right? And so I said, well, I'm going to watch WrestleMania at my house. You're welcome to join me. She drove an hour to my house. So that's a 2-hour round trip to get back home. She drove an hour to my house to watch WrestleMania, guys. WrestleMania. That told me, one, she has really high interest, because chicks don't just go out of their way to a guy they just met in the middle of fucking nowhere, because I live out in the cow pasture, right? They don't drive an hour out of their way to a guy's house that they just met in the middle of nowhere to watch WrestleMania if they don't expect something to happen. Okay, so I just knew at that moment, oh, she's coming over. Okay, cool. Now I could have looked at that situation like, oh, is she love bombing me right now? But I didn't. I was looking at it like, oh, I'm going to facilitate fun and fuck. Okay, so she drove an hour out of her way to come watch WrestleMania. She sat there. She'd never watched a wrestling show in her life. I don't think she was really that interested, but it didn't matter. I made her watch WrestleMania. I made it a fun experience for her. And then after the show was over, I went in for a kiss, and then the rest was history, right? Because I was like, she's here waiting for me to make a move. she's just sitting here patiently waiting for WrestleMania to end, waiting for me to make a fucking move. And so at the end of WrestleMania, because I wasn't going to miss WrestleMania, okay? We got to set our priorities as men. Watched WrestleMania, and then I was like, okay, she's not here. She's not here to watch WrestleMania, and fucking went in for a kiss, okay? So Nurse Chick, so since we started dating, right? She found my social media. She found my TikTok videos. I think on the third date, she randomly brings up hypergamy, right? In a conversation. No one brings up hypergamy in normal conversation. So I knew immediately she's tracked me down online. Right. And so did I get upset by that? Oh, is she internet stalking me now? No, I facilitate fun and fucking. So I just playfully the next day made a TikTok video saying, you ever have someone that is internet stalked you because they just say something just so random, so oddly specific, but yet random that it just kind of tips you off. And so 30 minutes after I made that video, she sends me a text message. She goes, I have a confession. I found your TikToks. Right. So I knew at that moment, okay, well, she's either going to get on board with my message on this podcast or things aren't going to work out. Right. But I didn't look at that like some kind of nefarious thing. I looked at it like, oh, she's got genuine interest in me. Because when a woman genuinely likes a guy, she's going to be fucking Batman. She's going to be like a fucking FBI agent. She's going to want to find everything out about you. And if you're a mystery, if you're acting like a mystery, you're not giving so much away. That's actually a good thing because chicks want to figure you out, right? You've got to let them do it. You can't just be giving everything away, right? Because that interest of her digging deeper and trying to find out more stuff about you, that's her building interest in you. You understand? So I could have looked at like, oh my God, she's internet stalking me. Oh, this is toxic as fuck, and dumped her. Right. But I didn't do that because I was like, oh, she's got high interest. Okay. So now we've been dating for a long time. She's been doing this for a long time, but she'll cook. She cooks for me. She won't let me get off the couch.
New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe now.